Welcome back to the latest episode 15 of the Retro Game Redux podcast. It's me, Scuba Saul, and with me as always is the Kirblet. How are you, Kirb?
I'm doing good. How about you? How's everyone else doing tonight? Hope everyone's having a great day.
Because we are live. This is the second episode of our new live format. I thought it was a rousing success. Speaking of how I am, I'm really well, as everyone is right now.
Yeah.
Just kind of going crazy with like end of year, pre-holiday stuff.
Oh, yeah. Last minute. Oh, I forgot to do this. Crap, I got to go out. And the pressure's on, man, to get the last minute gifts and stuff.
Any retro stuff you're hoping to get this year for Christmas?
Retro, maybe if we're technically talking retro, hoping to maybe get the Metroid Prime remastered.
Oh, nice.
For the Switch, yes. I do have the original GameCube version. But I would love to play the remastered. I heard it's really well done.
I'd love to check that out someday. I also want to play that what's the Game Boy Advance Metroid? Is there one on there? Metroid
there
Fusion?
Is a Game Boy Advance.
Fusion,
it was Metroid Fusion. Yes.
Yeah, that one looks really good. As for me, as I was part of the Rage Against the Retro Advent calendar this year, and I did a little video.
What?
Yeah, and I said what I wanted from Retro Santa Claus, and it's the Shinobi Ryuzo Koshiro vinyl record that just came out.
Ooh.
It's so good. It's all the original tunes, and it's the PC-88 port.
Okay.
I tend to buy a lot of when I buy records, I'm just buying stuff that I know I'm going to like forever. So one thing I wanted to talk about that's not on this list, I just got an email. My favorite record label, I don't know if anyone collects records, my favorite record label, they do a lot of reissues, is called Light in the Attic. And, they've done everything from roots, folk Americana to jazz, blues, hip hop, Japanese city pop, and whatnot. But they just announced I believe it's a 13 record series, all the old Konami music from the Famicom.
Oh, nice.
So not all, but so many games that we never got.
The big hits, yeah?
Yeah. So I got the normie one. I got the one with Contra and Super C, and I think Jackal is on there. So
what's Jackal? Remind me.
Jackal it's sort of a top-down game where you're in a little Jeep and you got to go around blowing up buildings and rescuing hostages.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. I don't know if I've even vaguely heard of that, but I Jackal sounded like a military game of some sort.
Yeah, put it on your list of stuff to play. It's excellent.
Okay.
And the soundtrack it's like a
chef's kiss.
It sounds like an 8-bit version of Van Halen.
So you said the Shinobi release there was the PC-88 port. Was there several
There's a Genesis version
okay,
that we all know. It's not Shinobi 3, it's another Shinobi. It's another one of because there's Shadow Dancer, there's Shinobi 3, and there's one more. And somebody is listening to this right now thinking, "Oh, it's this one." But yeah,
nice. Okay,
that's what I want. So anyway, let's talk. It's Revenge of Shinobi. Yeah, it's Revenge of Shinobi.
Okay, Revenge of Shinobi. Yeah. Gotcha.
Shout out to podcast chat. So welcome on in, chatters. Some of our good friends are here. Beat Every Game, host of the Beat Every Game channel, just clued me into that. So So what are we talking about tonight? Let's just break it down. I'm going to talk about upscaling PS2 games, which I never thought was a thing I wanted to do until I did it. We're going to talk about the release of the RetroTink 4K, the hottest upscaler. Kind of like a new generation, a new wave of upscaler. We're going to talk about with our theme of upscaling, the Portal RTX thing that came out earlier this year.
The update to Portal, which, again, a game like that's, released in 2007, about 16 years ago, it's still being talked about. So we'll talk about that tonight.
Yeah, we'll talk about...
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm also going to talk about modding my Super Nintendo, which was very scary, but I have a lot to say about it. And porting a song from another game to a format that can be used in Super Mario World ROM hacks. So that's what I want to talk about tonight. What do you have for us tonight?
Well, not as much as you, mind you, but I did kind of want to, touch on, just another aspect of higher resolution, especially internal game resolutions and for retro games. So we'll talk a little bit about that. I've been playing a lot of a more modern game, but I definitely get reminded of very early retro games when I play it. I was playing Cult of the Lamb, so we'll talk about that. And then lastly, there is, and I'll be playing this on a stream tonight here. We've just discovered a ROM hack of sorts, Super Mario 64 Co-op Deluxe. Just got released literally about 2 hours ago as of the recording of this podcast. So we'll talk more about that towards the end tonight.
Yeah, and after the show tonight, if you want to stick around, we'll be playing it for a bit, just to see what it's all about. Okay, so let's get into it. Everything I want to talk about tonight is based on stuff that I've been playing. So the first thing is I started, and the reason I started playing this game is somebody who's near and dear to my Twitch stream and near and dear to my heart. My oldest subscriber, my first mod, his name is Dougal, the Dougal.
Doog!
He might be listening tonight. Great individual. I've known him for about 4 years now. And, the months just add up. It was just the other day we were just getting into a pandemic. And then Dougal set off an alert the other day in my stream, subscribed for 50 months. And
my God,
it's like, that's a lot of months.
So
I want to do something nice for Dougal. And so I was thinking, what can I do for Doug? And I thought long and hard. And then I remembered, oh yeah, he actually redeemed some channel points on my stream for me to play a game of his choosing. And this was over a year ago. So thank you and sorry, Doug. Anyway, you probably want to know what the game I'm playing is.
Yep.
I just started Dragon Quest V.
Ooh, a Dragon Quest game.
Yeah. So Dragon Quest was originally released Japan only on the SNES in the early 90s, early to mid 90s. And then it later had a release on PlayStation 2 and then the Nintendo DS.
I think when I first heard about Dragon Quest was when 7 was popular, I think is what it was.
Okay.
Yeah.
I never I knew Dragon Warrior, knew the first Dragon Warrior game because they made so many of them. It was the easiest game to rent at Blockbuster, but kind of the worst to rent.
Yeah.
Like, you're not, unless you're getting the same cartridge every time you rent it, like you're not going to get very far. And that was also famously the game that they bundled with, they gave out free copies with Nintendo Power.
Oh, wow.
And
really?
I don't know if that's because they made too much or because they just wanted to get people into RPGs. Because it was the first, at least one of the first RPGs for the NES that sort of got a big push in North America.
Nice. Okay. I mean, I'll confess I've never played a Dragon Quest game. I should play one at some point. So that again, add that to my bucket list.
Add that to your list of shame.
List of shame. Yep.
I have a pretty big one myself.
Yeah.
Anyway, I wanted to check this out. A, because Dougal said he had a great time playing it. B, because I really love Yakuza Like a Dragon, which has a lot of references to the Dragon Quest series, apparently.
Oh.
yeah, like the main character was a huge fan, and takes a lot of inspiration to the game throughout the course of the story. So I want to see what it's all about. And I was deciding which version to play. So the first thought the first thought I had was, I'm gonna play the SNES version because, I get to play on the CRT, I get to do OG hardware, just like authentic gameplay. With that said, it's a Romhack, so there was no English translation for the SNES. So they actually, there was fans translated back in 2001 or 2002.
Oh wow, that's pretty early. Wow.
There's actually 2 separate fan translations, and they have different vibes to them.
Okay.
So I thought of that one, and then I thought of the DS one, and then a YouTube video came up in my search that said 4K texture widescreen upgrade to the PS2 version.
What?
I'm like, I'll check this out. This is probably going to look pretty jank. It looks incredible. It's one of the best looking, not only retro games, but games that I've played. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
so this is your first time playing this game, or have you ever played a Dragon Quest game before?
Yeah, first time. I'd never played any in the series. I may have talked about this last show, but it was only in 2020, the year of our COVID, where I started playing retro games, RPGs for the first time. Never played a turn-based one, so I played Chrono Trigger, which is kind of like one of the most beloved of all time. Started from the top.
What a way to start! Yeah,
yeah. FF7, another banger. FF6, Secret of Mana, SMRPG. I played all of those in 1 year for the first time.
God.
Yeah, so kind of needed a break from those for a while, but I was meant to check out Dragon Quest because in some ways it's just as historically relevant and just as influential as the Final Fantasy series.
In a way, you kind of circled back in a way, because when you started with Chrono Trigger, the character designer was Akira Toriyama of Dragon Ball fame, and then you circle back to Dragon Quest, who's also had character designs done by Toriyama. Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
So, actually, I'm going to play some footage from this.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, you got first of all, I want to show the SNES version, so you'll see it in all its glory.
Nice.
And then we'll look at the upscaled version. So I just thought, after I saw the PS2 version, not only for the graphics but for the full orchestral live soundtrack.
No, yes, I over the years I've seen mentions of a live action recording of these soundtracks popping up every now and then.
I want to do an episode just on recording game soundtracks in Japan.
Nice.
Because it's got a specific sound, like a specific orchestral sound. I want to say shout outs to Jumbler, who said never forget Earthbound playthrough. So I'm reminded that the great undoing of Scuba Sol, my first playthrough of the Earthbound game for SNES, one of your favorite games that you, I think you had on release, did you not?
I got it as a Christmas gift in 1995. I still have the cartridge to this day, and it's pretty much one of my favorite RPGs of all.
Okay, so we're gonna get to the 4K textures, but gotta circle around that. Yeah, so I did not have a great time playing Earthbound. I should say though that I was watching. Was it Italian Grandma that we rated after the last episode?
Yeah, we did Grandma last week.
Who was playing Earthbound, and all I could think was this is the coziest game of all time. What a nice game. So, anywho, I decided on the PS2 version, and I started by downloading the PC SX2 emulator. And you have to, the one that's on RetroArch right now is not compatible with a lot of this HD textures and widescreen stuff.
Yeah.
Unless I'm missing something. So I just downloaded it, and then I downloaded the texture pack, which was, I think, about a gig in size, if I'm correct. And
for a 4K retexturing, yeah, I'm not surprised it took about a gig.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you get to choose the upscale version. And so, like, I chose, like, I just got a new graphics card, so I kind of wanted to see how far I could push it.
I was about to say, you're going to push it to the limit?
Yeah. I took it to the limit one more time, and I settled on, I'm going to upscale it as far as it goes, which is 8x.
Wow.
8x resolution, and add the textures. And then I was looking at it, and sorry, I really want to show what this footage looks like, because it's quite a difference.
Yeah, I bet.
You know, so when I saw it, I just thought, like, this looks too good. It looks too, like, clean and pristine, but the emulator's got you, because it has these shader files that you can add that makes it kind of look like a CRT. And there's also an option to add back the PlayStation 2, like, blur sort of function that, you know, how a lot of consoles at that time, because we're looking at low res stuff, they had sort of a blurry kind of gauzy kind of filter over top of everything,
like a pixelation kind of blur to it. Yeah,
like the SM64 is famous for basically looking like it was covered in, like, the screen looked like it was covered in Vaseline or something. To the point where one of the popular mods that I actually have on mine is the de-blur mod, where it just it undoes the Photoshop filter that's over everything.
Yeah.
So, long story longer, I decided I would put the blur and the CRT filter, and I gotta say, like, it looks incredible. I'm so happy with and P.S. the game is awesome.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was about to say, did you actually enjoy the game, or are you just more wowed by the textures in the game itself?
I just wanted to look at the graphics. I'm really interested in playing the game. No, like, the game, it's really fun, and the hack, the texture pack, all this upscaling stuff, it, like, my computer doesn't even break a sweat. And that's not because of my computer. Awesome. It's just, like, PS2 is just such an old technology, I guess. But it's really the first modern console, so it's well, I guess PS1, but PS2 really sort of is the first to resemble, I think, the modern consoles that we play today.
Yeah, it really just shot into the mainstream like a rocket. Like, I think it still has the all-time sales record of consoles.
Yeah, and a lot of that is because it had a DVD player.
That too. It certainly didn't hurt.
Yeah. Did you play much PS2? Did you have a PS2?
Not for a long time.
Right.
I got a PS2 about 2007, like way later on. I didn't have access to that. I was more of an Xbox kid.
Right.
So I didn't really have access to a PS2.
What games were you into for OG Xbox?
Of course, Halo. That's always the prerequisite there. Halo 2 and stuff. There was also, off the top of my head, I think there was, like, the original Forza Motorsport.
Right.
Yeah. No, wait, that may have been 360. But no, Rally Sport Challenge 2. That was my first big racing game on the original Xbox, and, like, the Colin McRae. I loved rally games as a kid.
Right. So
that was another.
Do you have a modern Xbox, or is, like, Switch sort of your jam these days?
Switch is kind of my jam these days. I have a PS4. I did not get an Xbox One. I have a 360 though.
My point, my line of questioning, what I'm pointing towards is, I just realized the difference between Sony and Microsoft. So Sony is like, you know, either that's just not going to work on our new system, or here it is in its most basic form, where, you know, Microsoft has basically made most of their collection backwards compatible. Like, so
that's true.
I remember, there were very few discs. I bought a Xbox One X a while back, and you could just take an OG Xbox game, and most of them just work.
See, that's fantastic.
Yeah,
like that markets itself. If you would have told me that was going to be one of the big features, that you could still play original Xbox games on the newest Xbox, that would, I would have bought one sooner.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, shout outs to Microsoft for being gamer friendly, I guess. But like Halo, I was asking you about Xbox games just because I was like, well, maybe there's a PS2 equivalent. Maybe there's something. Is there any PS2 games you'd like to upscale?
Ooh, maybe a couple of them.
Yeah.
Some of I think the more kind of a realistic art choice games, maybe like one of the, I think it was a Wipeout game. That would have looked really cool, like upscaled.
Totally.
There was also the Final Fantasy Dirge of Cerberus. I would love to see what that would look like in a more upscaled texture.
Dirge of Cerberus sounds like, that Goosebumps meme? It's like, Goosebumps. Yeah. It's just written out for...
Zone of Vendors. Oh, man. Jumbler in our chat. Oh, my gosh. Zone of Vendors would definitely be another one. Oh, man. I remember playing that game.
Yeah, I gotta think that there are HD texture packs for a lot of these games too. And it's the fans keeping it like, once again, it's the fans keeping things alive. Stuff that is possibly just unprofitable to or like doesn't make a business sense for the original dev, or maybe they're out of business or whatever. Upscaling keeps things fresh, and like this game feels as fresh as a brand new game to me, and it was released.
It really looks like it would. I mean, if you hadn't told me that it was Dragon Quest V, I would have been fooled into thinking it was a new release.
Yeah,
or like a even more recent release of a Dragon Quest game. Like this just looks absolutely incredible.
Yeah, I mean, like the only way, like, okay, so there's not a lot of shadows, and there's like low polygon count, but in a way, like it's more endearing that way. Like I wish more modern games would take this sort of art style and just go with it. Just like embrace a retro 3D approach. So anyway, I made it past the first sort of big boss in Dragon Quest V. I'm going to keep playing it to completion, and
nice.
Yeah, nothing but good things to say about this texture pack. So check it out.
Glad you're having a good time with it.
You want to do? I guess the next thing we'll talk about is Portal, because that's another game that I recently just played. And
yes,
that was my treat game after beating Mycelium, that SMW Romhack.
Nice.
So I'd always wanted to play it, one of the most beloved PC games, I guess, of all time.
Yeah, I remember getting it a couple months after it was released. I got it on its original release, which was part of the Orange Box.
Okay, what's the Orange Box for those who, including me, who don't know?
The Orange Box is a collection of games that was released by Valve for consoles. I think it was for PS3 and Xbox 360, or it may have just been 360. It had Half-Life, Half-Life episodes 1 and 2, Team Fortress 2, and of course Portal.
Right. So you played it on console.
I played it on console, yes.
Yeah, I as with most games released between 1990 and 2020, I hadn't played it. So I wanted to check it out, and again, just wanted to sort of, you get a new video card and you just want to like kind of see it work. It's just like, okay, go do your thing.
It's like I want to see what I've been missing all this time with these newfangled graphics and stuff, right? And then all of a sudden you just play retro games.
Yeah,
it's like, put a shiny new ray traced code on it.
I still mostly play Slay the Spire on my PC.
Get the most high tech graphics cards. Play retro games on it exclusively. Yeah.
But I wanted to play Portal, A, because I hadn't played it, and B, because I wanted to try out the new thing that Valve released earlier this year, which is Portal RTX. And so what that does is it adds a ray tracing sort of look to the game. And as you can see, the game has all this sort of like ambient light sort of reflecting off everything. And, the game already looked great. And but this sort of takes it to another level. But, the irony of everything is I went to fire it up and I could not get it to work on stream.
Oh, no.
I spent about 10 minutes like, okay, do I do screen capture? Do I do window capture? And it just, it worked fine for me, but it captured like a potato, basically. So it was about 4 FPS on my stream. So I went back to the OG Portal and played the game to completion. And it was awesome. It was so awesome that I started another playthrough, which we're watching now on the RTX mod.
I mean, you say the word potato. That if you play the second game, that word will come into play later.
Okay.
I won't spoil anything for it. But
you already have, maybe.
Oh no! Oh no!
Okay, I'll be. No, you haven't spoiled anything. I'll be listening for potato.
Okay.
But yeah. Portal, what a sweet game. I have not much to say about it other than I probably should have played this as my intro to like 3D first person based games, because it basically just I think this game exists in a way to teach new players how to navigate with mouse and keyboard, or just how to navigate in a 3D environment. So
yeah, I think this game is kind of an important game to me. And I mean, I don't always talk about Portal, but this is very much an intro to like 3D puzzles and and strategy games of the sort. This is one of the first intros for that, and so it's so beloved. I also love how you've obviously played through the game to the completion here. I love how it tries and gaslights you about the companion cube.
Just the sense of humor the game has is so original, and I had never, like, even now playing it for the first time, I'm like, I don't think I've played another game that has this kind of sense of funny and just like humanity at the same time. Because what's funny is the game sort of empathizes with your plight and pokes fun at it at the same time. Which I think is wonderful, as someone who is apparently a salty gamer. I just think it's the games that are bad. I don't know. It's just me. But no. Can I ask you? Did you get a little misty-eyed during the song at the end?
Not really.
Okay, me neither.
Really.
Me neither.
It's like, man, are you trying to like gas light me down? What the hell?
No, I heard that song. I'm like, am I gonna cry here? Like, this is beautiful. This is such a touching moment. Like this pain in the ass who's been gaslighting you and basically making fun of you the whole game.
Yeah,
is now like singing a song about life and death and the plight of progress and humanity. And
it's a bit of a reward for a good job of testing well done.
Ampersand says Scuba Salt. Yeah, I should just add a T. Should I just add a T to my name? I just have to do that. Anyway,
we need to get you. I need to make you like a proper emote or something of you getting salty.
Yeah, maybe. I welcome it. I don't necessarily. I suspect that would get used a lot. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, I not much else to say about Portal except it was a 10 out of 10 game for me, and I had really fun, a lot of fun with it. I can't wait to play Portal 2.
Yeah.
And that's all I got.
Anything you probably had heard me mention to you that the Portal 2 has a co-op mode. And I do want to play some co-op with you because I want to have you experience the joy of a Portal 2 co-op because it's really, really nicely done, I think. And but I would definitely recommend that you play the story mode in Portal 2, the main game first, before we do the co-op.
Okay, well, I will definitely do that. So I guess we'll move on. Maybe we should take a little break before we move on, though.
Oh, okay. I think we can do that.
Yeah, so let's take 3 minutes to reset to 1, and we'll be back to talk about modding the SNES with a mod chip and my experiences as an amateur solder enthusiast. All right, see you in 3 minutes. We are back. Sorry about that extended break. I needed to... I forgot to do something that was very important to the flow of our show. So anyway, welcome back, Retro Game Redux. It's me and Kirb live, doing it live. We're talking about all things retro, all things like how retro has changed and grown and it recontextualized itself and upgraded HD texture, whatever it is.
Yep.
Okay. So, one of those things, how many consoles do you have? Like old school retro consoles, Kirb?
You got a couple? Okay. I have a couple. I have a SNES, SNES. I have a GameCube. I have a PlayStation 2. Yeah, Xbox 360. Yeah, I got a good number.
Yeah, I bought all of them as my sort of midlife crisis 3 years ago. I just like, well, this is cheaper than a Porsche, so let's just buy all the systems. And they were cheap at the time. Like things went way up about 6 months after I got into it. But you ever plug one of those things in lately and check the quality of the graphical resolution and like noise level?
Not lately, although I have 3 Super Nintendos. Let me be clear. I have 3 of them. One was my original Super Nintendo that I've had since 92, 93. That one has a problem with its video chip where the colors are glitching. Yeah, and it was really apparent one day when I was playing Mighty Morphin Power Rangers on it, and the background is just glitching, like almost like inverting colors in like split seconds and stuff. And it was very concerning. So I stopped playing it. I didn't know what the problem was until I did some research. I'm like, oh, it's a problem with the video chip. I'm like, oh no.
Okay, so you got a couple consoles. You got 3 SNESs. And if you're like me, you look at them, you plug them in, and they look fine on an old tube TV. But if the minute you try and stream them, it's like, why does this look like shit?
Oh man,
why does this the colors are all running and whatever? So I quickly went down the tech rabbit hole, as I do, because I'm just I'm mad for it, as they say.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, how can I get better output? So then, okay, I'll use S video instead of composite.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, well, this thing has RGB output. How do I do that? And even the RGB output, it looks great. It's like all of a sudden things are way more defined, but there's still a lot of noise on the screen. And basically, there's a few different models of SNES, and all of them have subtle flaws that are just a fact of, like, they're trying to produce so many of these at a cheap price point, in the early 90s, and nobody can notice any sort of noise. Like, your TV is probably more to blame for bad output than and we didn't care back then as well, right?
It wasn't really noticeable back then, but I mean, as TVs have evolved, a lot of those original problems got ironed out, so to speak.
Yeah.
And then when you plug those old consoles in, those the problems that they exhibit start really getting noticeable.
The harsh light of HD brings everything to light, and flat screen displays and whatnot. But I do like playing on hardware. I love emulation too, but it's more of a tactile thing. It's more of a nostalgic thing to play on hardware. And I wanted to see how good I could get this SNES looking. And so I did some research. And so quick little history lesson. Did you know that there's more than one model of the Super Nintendo?
As I remember, there, I believe, are 3 distinct models.
Okay, so you have the 2-chip version, which is the original one. So that had a separate graphics and CPU processor.
And that's the model that I have for my original.
Okay. Are all your models 2 chips? Do you know?
I haven't investigated whether the other ones I have are the 2-chip. I think they might be.
Right.
But I'm not sure.
Yeah, they were more common for sure. But in 94, 95, I believe they switched over to a 1-chip version. And did you know that version of the console is actually just emulating the 2-chip version, but on 1 chip? So it's not...
I didn't know it was doing some kind of emulation. That's fascinating.
Yeah, to the point where there's actually a few things that don't run as perfectly as on the original SNES.
Oh, it's like Nintendo decided to take some shortcuts.
Yeah. Yeah, and then the last version, of course, is the little SNES Junior. It's not the SNES Mini, it's SNES Junior, right?
Yeah, it's the SNES. Yeah, the SNES Junior.
Yeah.
It was kind of a like a miniaturized version that was released towards the end of life. I think it was mostly in Europe.
Yeah, they released a lot of them here too. And it's a 1-chip as well, but they took a few things out, probably just to save money. They took out the RGB output.
Oh no!
Yeah. So basically, if you have that system stock, it's only gonna work up to S video. So you get composite output, S video, but you don't get the fancy one, which is our RGB component output.
I see. Okay. Which one did you get when you bought your Super Nintendo?
The first one I bought it on Facebook off a guy who was just like, I got this old thing, I never use it, and it looked like it was in brand new condition. But unfortunately, the revision that it had the worst video output of all of them.
Oh man.
Yeah, and so then I'm like, oh shit, did I not get the good one? So I'm like, okay, well, how do I find a 1-chip? And apparently the way to find it is if the serial number starts with a 3, that's a pretty good indication that it's a 1-chip.
Okay.
Yeah. So the 1-chip has the best quality. And the reason you want a 1-chip is because it has the best quality RGB output.
Yeah. Okay.
So, that improved things greatly, and I was pretty satisfied. But there's these jail bars that kind of show up on the screen. It kind of it just like it's a faint outline of just vertical lines. as you play the game. And then there's a bit of ghosting. So, the pixels kind of tend to drift over a little bit into their nearest neighbor.
I have read some things about that being a thing on a one chip.
Yeah. And
I heard that was a problem.
So there's a guy out there, his name's Voltar.
I know who Voltar is. Yes.
You know
Love
him?
his work.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know him personally, but I definitely know of his work. I've been kind of following him for a while.
Yeah.
I've read, a lot of good stuff that he's been doing.
So Voltar, I think his first claim to fame was designing an RGB bypass chip for the one chip SNES. And what that does is it does a few things. It fixes the ghosting, it fixes the jail bars, and if you have one of those SNES Juniors, you can actually add back RGB support.
Nice. So it's kind of a multiple solution, kind of tailored to what you need at the time.
So I decided I'd buy it. And what have I got to lose? He's got a video out there. It's about a 15-20 minute install, all said and done. And it sort of gave me the confidence to give it a shot. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, if I ruin this one chip SNES, like, what do I do then? Like, maybe I can get Leon, the guy in town, to fix it, or maybe because the one chip I found for $60. Like, so whoever was selling it on eBay didn't know what they had, so I gladly snapped it up. But I bought the chip and then was just too afraid to mess it up. So it sat in my drawer for over a year. But I kind of just got the itch a couple weeks ago, and I figured I'd give it a go.
Very nice.
And so I followed the instructions. I took it apart. I tried to be as careful as possible. Just like had all my little parts just labeled. So what it involves is this little chip about the size of 2 postage stamps. And what you do is you just solder it onto like an existing 10 or 12 pin sort of spot on the back of the board. So it's already kind of like, he made it easy enough that you basically just have to solder that on, and that'll provide some connectivity and some power. And then the other step is there's a little 3 or 4 wire point-to-point solder thing that you have to do. Like he provides a cable, like a little. It's just like this tiny little 4-strand multi-pin cable that you have to solder into the board. The scariest thing, though, is you have to remove a couple of these surface mount resistors. And surface mount is like, that's not something that people really do at home. It's like they're tiny little components. And I was
those rectangular sized little tiny little things. Like I've seen like board repair videos where you have to deal with those. Those look like nightmares to work with.
And I had the fear in me because the Dreamcast I tried to mod last year around this time had a bunch of those that I had to replace, and it did not go well. I think I talked about this on an older episode. The patient unfortunately didn't make it.
Oh yes, you. I do remember you telling me about this. We coded,
right? So, I had to get another one anyway. All this to say, and you're looking at it right now. It looks great. This is
actual output from the actual completion of this mod.
Yeah, this is hardware, baby.
Oh man,
I recorded this today. And the other fun thing is that I wanted to see what Dragon Quest 5 felt like on the SNES, so I decided to play that just for the demo, and it looks great, and it was really fun, and so all this to say, one chip SNES owners, give that a shot if it's something you're into. But 2-chip SNES owners, like yourself, Kirb, fear not, because Voltar is about to release a 2-chip version of this mod.
Ooh.
I'm not sure how complicated it is. It's probably a little more involved, but it works with every 2-chip SNES. And he's even working on a PAL version for European SNES users.
Yes, that's right, because PAL is 50 hertz and didn't change to 60 hertz until much later.
Yeah, they run at different refresh rates because of the power in the different continents.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's all I got for my SNES mod. It was a rousing success. No issues.
How much did a mod like this cost?
It was $38.
That's not bad.
Not bad, right? Like,
right. That's actually pretty cheap. Like, we see you see a lot of like HDMI mods and stuff like that. They go for like hundreds of dollars now, and just for a simple thing like this, $38. I mean, that's extending the life of the SNES, and I love it.
Yeah, and those HDMI mods very very much more complicated than than the simple RGB mod. But as far as user, amateur capable mods, this is definitely one of them. So that's it for that. I guess the last thing I got is quickly, I'll just talk about, after I played Mycelium, I wanted to look at, because there's so much good music in Mycelium. That's the Super Mario World Kaizo Romhack I just finished. So I wanted to, look at what it was to port one of those songs, like port a custom song into Super Mario World.
Nice. What song did you decide to go with?
Well, I was poking around SMW Central, which is the website that all those those ROMs sort of live on, and that's where the community is. And there's a requests a sub forum, and so somebody just you can just request a song that you want for your TAC, and somebody will volunteer to do it if you're lucky. And so I saw one, and it was a Secret of Evermore song. I've never played the game Secret of Evermore, but I listened to the tune. I'm like, well, this seems like a pretty doable one. It's pretty simple. Doesn't seem like there's a lot of fancy stuff. So I figured I'd try it out. And it took me about 2 days, but I got it done.
Nice. So what was the process like? Like, was it simple to set up, or?
Well, there's a few ways you can approach it.
Okay.
The way that most people do it is, they transcribe it into either directly into like a text file, which is what you need for. There's basically like, a series of like letters and numbers that represent the notes, the names of the notes, and how long the notes play for, and also what instrument is playing, because. The SNES has about 8 outputs of music, 8 channels of music, I should say.
Okay. Yeah. From the description, it kind of sounds like the Famitracker like software, like you used to make music on for like Super NES style music.
It's a bit like that, except there's no tracker software for it. Be really handy if there was. But what I did was I basically got a hold of the original game music in a file called an SPC. So an SPC is something that you could play on like a player. And the good thing about it is you can isolate you can solo each channel. So I just by ear, I just listened to each channel and made a MIDI file out of it just for reference. And after I did that, like there's a few ways you could get that into the like text file format, which is called MML.
Okay.
There's some automatic ways to do it, like some programs that will take MIDI. MIDI is like a sort of universal format for music, and change that into an MML file.
I'm definitely familiar with MIDI for sure. Yeah. Like I've been familiar with that since like elementary or middle school, actually.
Sure. Well, just for people who are listening and aren't musicians,
Of course,
yeah,
of course.
So basically, I took that and I took every note and just figured out, okay, what's the MML value for this note and this instrument. And that was like, it took about 6 or 7 hours to do it on my stream. I had a really good time with it. I thought it was really relaxing and just fun to just kind of pick away at it all day. And it turned out pretty well.
Dip your toes.
Yeah. So the requester's happy with it. The next thing I'm going to do is try and add some custom instruments. So not just using the Super Mario World sounds, but add you can add your own sounds into the file.
Oh wow! I wonder how that works.
Yeah, but because the thing about the Super Nintendo, unlike the NES, which uses just like simple waveforms to make the music, the Super Nintendo plays a sample of a pre-recorded instrument, just one note, and you can change how fast or how slow that sample plays, and that will determine the note.
Oh wow! Like I that reminds me of for those. Do you know who David Wise is? Composer of the Donkey Kong Country series.
I sure do. We've talked about it on the show. Yeah.
I remember him talking about how composing the music for the original Donkey Kong Country game involved so many samples being played like back to back, and it was kind of a nightmare to create the music because you had such a limited amount of memory for like a note. It would, and because of the complexity of what he was doing, it involved like loading like separate notes into a sequence, and it was pretty insane. That's what it reminded me of.
Yeah, to see how those actual sounds were created, like using tiny little waveforms that he just stitched together.
Yeah.
It's incredible. So people can actually take his work in the DKC series, and they've ported it to Super Mario World.
I'm not surprised. They're such memorable tracks.
It's identical, but what people don't realize is like you hear a DKC song in one of these hacks, and you're like, oh, that's cool. They just took that from Donkey Kong, but that's like a feat of intellectual and musical strength and programming strength. Like,
yeah, I was about to say that's some programming prowess right there.
Yeah, for sure. But I loved seeing how that was done, and I can't wait to do it again with more songs. So
nice.
Look for more Scuba Sol ports coming to SMW Central, baby.
Heck yeah.
Curb, that's all I got. What would you what have you got for us tonight?
Well, there is I've been playing kind of a more modern game recently, but in doing so, I've kind of rekindled my appreciation for some early retro game genre, pioneering.
Yeah.
And I kind of wanted to talk about that. So the game in question is Cult of the Lamb. That was released back sometime last year. I got it as a gift for Christmas last year, and I just started playing it in October. I'd been sitting on it for about 10 months.
Wow. What are you playing it on right now?
It's on PC. Okay. I got it for PC. I think it's released on all the consoles. Yeah. So you get it on your platform of choice. And I think I also sent you a link to some of my gameplay of this.
Yeah,
but
let me pull that up for sure.
Yeah.
So talk about what the game is like. What do you do in Cult of the Lamb?
Well, as the name kind of suggests, you basically lead a cult. And what you are,
you basically just lead a cult.
You're leading it. That's basically, I could leave it there, but the kind of premise is that you're this character that's been resurrected from the dead to get revenge on 4 enemy gods. And so in doing so, you also have to get worshipers in a cult to worship this old god that you represent. So basically, it combines several different gameplay types. One of which you're probably seeing here is the cult management. So you basically recruit worshippers. You build these structures, farms, ways to take care of your villagers. It's in this weird cartoony style, which gives it this very lightheartedness. But then it goes like it gives it that Happy Tree Friends vibe. I don't know if anyone remembers Happy Tree Friends, like some very very old internet cartoons back in the day. There was like cutesy on the outside, but horrifying as the video goes on. It reminds you of that. Yeah, so basically, it's kind of a cult, like a management god simulator.
Like, and I was, in a way, like SimCity or Civilization, but for actual like people instead.
Actually, I would say it's more in a way akin to ActRaiser.
Oh, I know ActRaiser.
ActRaiser, yeah, but originally one of the launch games, I believe, back on the Super Nintendo. It has those kind of vibes where, you're helping build civilizations and upgrading cities and stuff and getting worshippers to worship you.
I need to play that game.
I think, yeah. I'm sorry, you played that game?
I need to. I saw Contra play it a couple years ago, and it's a weird, like, SimCity meets, like, there's like some platform, like there's some combat in it as well, right?
Yeah, like action adventure type. Yeah, it has got some platforming adventure combat in there. And this game has it too. That's the second part of this game is combat. Where you're going through like a procedurally generated dungeon. It kind of reminds me in a way of that. A little bit elements of The Binding of Isaac.
Oh, okay. I see.
Yeah. Kind of like a map, layout and everything. You're in like different rooms as you're going through the dungeons. You'll see gameplay, but yeah, so the combat's pretty fun. You get a weapon to start, and then you can swap weapons later on. Some shopkeepers will have some weapons to offer you, or you can find different weapons in the wild.
Nice.
Yeah, you're about to see me go into combat here. But what's fun about this game is if you see on the left side, you see you have worshipers who die of old age, or you can sacrifice your worshipers. You clean up their poop, for fertilizer, and it's all sorts of gameplay that layers upon layers. It's actually kind of deep.
Wow.
When it comes to managing your cult. So that was really fun. It definitely really reminds me of the hybrid gameplay that ActRaiser had. That's why it reminded me so much of that.
So cool. So cool.
Yeah. And
so is there like a co-op? Is there any sort of multiplayer function? Is this a single player game?
This is mostly a single player game.
Right.
But there's a lot of customization that kind of really gives you a lot of replay value. One thing is that you can customize your minions that you recruit. Like you don't have to keep the minions the appearance of the minions that you summon into your cult. You can change their appearance. There's so many customization options you can unlock. You can change their names. They'll have like different stats, like whether they're like gullible or skeptical and whatnot, and it just endless possibilities on how you want to run your cult. And you can even name your cult. It doesn't have to be the default like Cult of the Lamb.
What's your cult name?
I just kept it Cult of the Lamb. I couldn't. I didn't have the creativity to come up.
Boring.
I know, right?
So how many hours do you have in this game?
I think about 80 something hours, or 40 or 80 hours in the game, somewhere between there.
It looks amazing. It's such a cool art style.
It's so fun.
Yeah.
And I'm still unlocking stuff to do in the game. Like there's different shops and stuff. I'm not through with the game yet.
So there's an end to this game, though. It's not just procedurally generated until.
Yeah, there's an end to it. Is the dungeons themselves are randomly generated as far as what enemies are there, and you also collect resources. Because you got to feed your cult, build structures, and you get that through playing the game and doing little side missions and stuff like that.
I would like to look at the history of procedurally generated environments, because
It's a
I think it goes back to the 80s even.
Yeah, one of the earliest games I remember reading about that did like a procedurally generated stuff was like Elite back on the I think it was the Acorn, like a
Okay.
really old system. But it was basically. Have you heard of me playing Elite Dangerous?
Yes. Yeah,
It
you
was the
recommended
first
that to
game.
me. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the first game in that series.
No way. So that
Yeah,
actually has a retro lineage.
it absolutely does. Wireframe to be specific. It was a wireframe based generation on like an Acorn, like before Nintendo consoles were out there.
What's wireframe?
Wireframe. You ever played Asteroids or Asteroid?
Yes.
Yep,
Yes.
same type of, I don't know if it's vectorized graphics,
Right.
but the wireframe simplistic graphics. That's what I mean by wireframe.
Very cool. Awesome.
Yeah, so
Well,
it procedurally generated stuff like that has been there for a while, but thankfully with modern creativity limits kind of being removed, the sky's the limit on what you can do nowadays. Just got to know what to program.
awesome. Well, a game that I definitely want to check out at some point. It looks amazing.
Yeah. So with that, yeah. So if anyone's thinking about playing it, this is, you have my full recommendation. This is just a fun, good time. There's just a lot of moments that are just like out there in terms of like the I don't know if vulgarity or rude, it's just crude, but in a cutesy way, and it just tickles all my humor buttons. So this is definitely a definite recommendation for me for this.
Sounds pretty randy to me.
All right.
Nice. Well,
So
let's move.
yeah.
What else you got?
One thing I did want to circle back to another topic that we talked about earlier, and that is in relation to the like HD texture packs and what I want to kind of briefly touch on. Have you ever heard of upscaling resolutions, internal game resolutions in games?
Well, we were just talking about it earlier, so yeah, I definitely have heard of it.
Yeah. So yes, it's again a brief here, but one question I wanted to pose to you: do you think a lot of games for like PS2 or PS1 would have a lot of benefit from upscaling internal resolutions, or do you think it does more harm than good?
As I said earlier, I'm definitely on team upscale now, and I didn't think I was. The nostalgia factor of potato resolution is cool, but in the case of Dragon Quest V, it really brought it to life for me. So absolutely, I think that there's massive benefits to upscaling retro games, especially ones that don't get remasters or remakes from the game devs.
Mm-hmm. So there is this thing that some emulators do where they increase like the resolution of actual non modified game textures like walls and some sprites or 3D models.
Right.
And I think that was kind of where I was leaning towards specifically. And one example I can think of is like Shadow of the Colossus, or some of the textures. If you increase the internal resolution on an emulator like PCSX2, increase some of the resolution of stuff like easily scalable stuff like walls and basic textures like that.
Yeah.
And it also increases the sharpness of some of the lines of that texture. And, so I always kind of lean towards like, I think, when textures are taken into consideration, I think it's purposely done to keep an aesthetic for a game. Like I think a game like Mega Man Legends might actually do really badly when it increasing internal game resolution of the textures.
Yeah, I mean, I think I actually I can't. I want to say that. Okay, I played that game on. Did I play you watched me play that game? I can't remember if I played it on PS1. I think it was PS1 that I played it on.
Yeah.
And I might have even done it on emulation. Like, you're going to see the harsh truths of like how primitive some of those games are, I think, but like, is that a bad thing? I think it's actually kind of like an endearing thing. Like, look at this primitive game that we are still in love with. And like Silent Hill, for example. It's like Silent Hill was built on the fact that you couldn't, like, the draw distance on a PS1 was so bad. So like, it's almost like they saw that and they're like, okay, that'll be a game mechanic. Fog, let's go.
That's true. Yeah. Okay.
So like, as much as I like upscaling and texture packs and stuff like that, I think that there's a certain charm to just the flaws of all the sort of quirks that you see when you upscale a game. I like that.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. What do you think?
I think it was kind of a case by case basis.
Yeah, that's true.
I think there are some games that really took advantage of just the limitations. And, like Silent Hill made that into a feature, but I think increasing, because it doesn't upscale the resolutions of those textures for everything, because some things are just pure simple resolutions like decals and stuff like that.
And some things you can't upscale, right? Because like you can upscale vectors, polygons and stuff. You just make the shape, render in an environment that has more pixels, but like bitmap, like pixels,
pixels really, that wouldn't have any effect. This is definitely more for a 3D game environment for sure.
Well, like some of them have both, right? Like we're about to get into SM64, and all of the sort of like the time and the power stuff. That's all sprite based. That's not 3D.
That's true.
So
that is very true.
So you get to I think it's really cool to see what they did with polygons and what they still did with pixels. It's actually a cool point of history just to see how that has evolved. Like I guess now most things are vector based, except for like textures.
Yeah. I mean, speaking of Super Mario 64, that kind of delves into the kind of the last topic we kind of wanted to touch on today.
Okay, this
is a very, very recent development, i.e., what we're going to talk about has just been released about 3 hours ago, actually.
Okay, let's check
this
it out
is
for sure.
Yes, and this is a thing called Super Mario 64 Co-op Deluxe.
And here it is. Like, check this out.
Check this out. This is amazing.
First of all, I mean, the Super Mario 64 community, I gotta say, is like, I don't think there's a more active or larger community of modders and Romhack enthusiasts than SM64.
I think I would agree, especially if they can put stuff out like this.
Yeah.
I think the community is in good hands. The game is in good hands. So
we're seeing what you're talking about here. Like, we can see that the mushroom is a polygon, but for example, the like the fences and the railings on bridges is all like pixel based,
like flat pixel, just solid flat objects. Yeah. So kind of in a way, there are some parts that show their age. But I think that's, like you said earlier, I think that is definitely part of some of the charm. And it kind of shows you what some of the developers had to do just to get a game to run really well. Sometimes you had to, for simplicity of design, or to make things that just make it work. You had to make some compromises.
Yeah, just making the most of hardware limitations. I think that's where, that's not a. That's ultimately why this game is so cool, is because they had those limitations and they made something of them. They did something creative around them, which became the defining characteristics of this game. And what a great game. So Super Mario 64 Co-op Deluxe, it's a new 16-player co-op environment for SM64, and the way it works is you will take your legally obtained ROM file of the game and put it into a program, an executable program that you download, and it will create with Microsoft.NET framework an actual install of the game on your system.
Yes.
So basically, I did it earlier tonight just because I was really curious. And the thing that I didn't it's really kind of, you can tell it's obviously fan made, because I didn't even know where it put the installation. It didn't give me an option, but it put it somewhere on my C drive. I'm like, what is this even called? How would I find it? But lo and behold, I found it. I fired it up, and it just kind of works. And the other cool thing about the game that I noticed is it has built-in netcode. It has servers called I think it's called Co-op Net.
Net Co-op or Co-op Net.
Basically it authorized my stuff through Discord, and then all of a sudden my Discord username has popped up as my player name in this game.
Yeah, and it just, you want to host a thing, you can host up to 16 people in co-op. That blew my mind. I imagine at some point, so you're going to see some rooms with 16 people playing at once, and it's just can't let the chaos begin, basically.
Right. Well, let's talk about what you can do with the Co-op DX environment, because it's not just the base game. Sure, you can play the base game co-op, and I'm not really even sure how that would work, but up to 16 people could be playing along with you. But I think one of the main attractions to this is a little thing called Gun Mod DX.
I did see a mod about this. Yeah,
I have a little thing,
and it's
about
built into the game.
Yeah, so it's one of two mods in the game, and so what it is, it's a complete rewrite of Agent X's first SM64 mod, which is called just Gun Mod, which was made for SM64X Co-op, which is the first kind of it's another team of developers who made that game. And what it does is it turns it into, I'm pretty sure, a battle royale, like a PUBG style battle royale in Mario.
It just, what it reminds me of? GoldenEye.
Yeah, well, we should play some of that, because it's really funny. First person Mario's got a gun, and last Mario standing wins. And then the other cool thing is they have this thing called day-night cycle, which actually adds a time mechanic and a night and day sort of cycle to SM64. So
yeah, I think that's really cool.
Yeah, I think that's a really, really neat thing. So they just started with those two mods just because they wanted something that was easy to release, as well as the base game. For a first release, hour one, it worked perfectly.
I've encountered no problems.
Yeah. So, please check that out if you like Super Mario 64. I know there's a lot of fans in the retro community. Anything else you want to say about that one, Kurt?
No, like we're gonna be playing this. We're gonna be playing some of this after the show tonight, or we're gonna be playing it together and kind of discovering it.
Yeah.
And I can't wait.
Awesome. So with that, let's take our leave. Let's call this officially the end of the podcast for this episode 15. My name is Scuba Saul, and
I'm the Kirblet.
And the Kirblet and I can be found on Twitch. I'm at twitch.tv/ScubaSol, and Kirb is at twitch.tv/theKirblet. RetroGameRedux.com is our website where you can subscribe. You can get in contact with us. If you have any thoughts, any ideas, any questions for a future episode or about a past episode. And we'll be back next week with another show. So until then, have a great week, have a great beginning of your holidays, and most importantly, keep on gaming.
Keep on gaming. Yeah, have a great night, everyone.